barley, yeast, the basic ingredients of the water of life, that is whiskey. It's made around the world, but no two places make it the same, and Canada is increasingly being recognized on the world stage as a quality whiskey producer. At Devine Distillers, they've made an award-winning whiskey, and we're going to find out how. Join me, won't you? I've been given the official authority to present you with your silver medal for your Glen Saanich whiskey.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
It felt great to be up there with you know, some of the major players, so to speak, and some of the other craft distilleries. We had about 320 kilos of milled up barley and water at very specific temperatures.
BC, it was kind of a little bit late getting in the game. That said, it's kind of the epicenter for micro distilling now in Canada.
This is the star of Devine. This is Brunhilde. This is a vintage German pot still that we restored about 3 years ago. There are something like close to 50 distilleries in BC, so you know, I say the more the merrier. We are both a certified organic farm and we're also a certified craft distillery. So everything we do is from scratch, is what it comes down to. So all of our grain for our whiskeys are grown right here in Saanich.
If they use BC agricultural products to make their whiskey, they get a much better tax rate, and that's been very helpful. But it's also helpful to farmers in British Columbia.
I wanted to do something that would really reflect Vancouver Island. So that was Glen Saanich. Then we turned around and said, okay, what can we do that's completely different than anybody else is doing? And we decided to do our ancient grains whiskey, which is barley, Khorasan, spelt, emmer, and einkorn. And as far as I know, nobody in North America has ever done a mash bill like that. We also decided to put it into new American oak barrels, which are very charred and kind of aggressive, we'd say, in the business. So treat it more like a bourbon than a single malt. Turned out brilliantly, so we're thrilled. They're really unique, robust, almost got a little bit of a nutty note to it.
This, you know, lightly peated barley and rye whiskey from Lowe and McKinnon, that's Central City Brewers in Vancouver. Awesomely good whiskey. We've got wonderful whiskeys from Shelter Point, finished in wine barrels, spectacular. BC is really coming along. I think they've got they've got great potential, but they've kind of got this momentum going.
The barrel is the spice rack. So that's where all your baking spices and fruit and vanilla come from, and kind of create this lovely fruit cake kind of layer to the whiskey.
It smells like potential.
We do from 1 to 5 years in barrel, depending on the size. We experiment with smaller, medium, and larger barrels. So we find that smaller casks definitely accelerate the aging process.
Both tourists and locals alike have tried all the basics. They want to try something different, something interesting, which being in BC, we have a lot of craft distilleries, which is really helping that. But a lot of the big distilleries are bringing out more interesting, unique releases as well. 2017
is probably the best year ever for Canadian whiskey. And it's because it was 150 years since our confederation as a country. All of the distillers have really put their shoulders to the wheel and come up with some just fabulous new whiskeys.
I think Canadian whiskey is definitely enjoying a renaissance, is how I would put it. You know, we get calls from restaurants in Las Vegas and Japan to send whiskey, and of course we can't do it, but we're thrilled to get those kinds of calls.
A lot of these whiskeys have been sitting in the warehouses for a long time, like 40 years of the Canadian Club and things like that. I think what the Canadian whiskey makers are doing now is they're addressing the new demand for really big, robust, flavorful whiskeys. People used to think that Canadian whiskey was light. Not light anymore. Oh, the mixing whiskey's still there. When you taste Weiser's Legacy, that whiskey is huge.
The Glen Saanich also got a 94 in the Whiskey Bible, which alongside some 12 and even 18-year-old scotches. So, you know, it puts us on the map.
Canadian Whiskey, the New Portable Expert, is an expanded version of the book that I released about 2012. It talks about all of the distilleries in Canada. It's got all 41 micro distilleries that are making whiskey in there. We've got a map of where all the distilleries are. Really the history of Canadian whiskey, how whiskey is made, how to enjoy it, what it tastes like, and about 100 tasting notes for whiskeys that are currently available.
Cheers.
It's a Canadian whiskey.
We're playing with kind of a bourbon-style corn whiskey, and we have some malted rye that I'd love to play with as well. So yeah, so we're pretty experimental here.
Canadian whiskeys are enjoyed all around the world and getting the recognition that they deserve. Finally, you can enjoy some of the best right here at home. So if you're thinking whiskey, you can think local. For Community Producers, I'm Heather Leary.